and welcome to the Narrowing Path, walking the spiritual walk. My name is Stephen Van Eiderstein. Thank y'all for joining me today as we go through James Allen's daily meditations for this year. So far, it's been an extremely rewarding experience. I've been reminded of a lot of things. I've learned a lot of things, and I hope everyone listening has also benefited from it. So I'm looking forward to April 3rd. Yesterday was a fantastic reading. Really enjoyed it, and yesterday's followed the first, which was also just a really heavy hitting one, just about what our responsibility is when discussing and doing the spiritual work. So I'm looking forward to the third. This will be fresh to you and fresh to me, meaning that you will get my genuine response, reaction, observations, and what I relate to about this reading, and we will see where it takes us. So here we go. April 3rd of James Allen's Daily Meditations. Man, as mind, is subject to change. He is not something made and finally completed, but he is within him, but has within him the capacity for progress. I like that. The purification of the heart, the thinking of the right thoughts, and the doing of the good deeds, what are they but calls to higher, nobler mode of thought, energizing forces, urging men to effort in the choosing of thoughts, which shall lift them into realms of greater power, greater good, and greater bliss. What a sentence that is. Aspiration, meditation, devotion. These are the chief means which men in all ages employ to reach up to higher modes of thought, wider airs of peace, vaster realms of knowledge. For as he thinketh in his heart, so is he. He is saved from himself, from his own folly and suffering, by creating within new habits of thought, by becoming a new thinker, a new man. Man's being is modified by every thought he thinks. Every experience affects his character. Wow. I will say, there is a ton of information in this one. Just almost overwhelmingly so. The first sentence of the body was just impactful, to say the least. So, let's go ahead. Let's get into this. Man as mind is subject to change. He is not something made and finally completed, but has within him the capacity for progress. So what this is saying is we are not the final product. Who we are today is not the final product. Every thought we think, every idea we have, every moment we live shapes our character. And we continue to progress on this, in the spiritual life, on these spiritual paths that we walk. Right? Like this, we don't get to a certain point and we're just good. We don't get to a certain point and we're perfect. No, I like how he said he is not something made and finally completed. Like there's no end goal here. I mean, there is a target that we're aiming for. We might be aiming for perfection or perfect righteousness or perfect good. But a lot of us will never get there. I don't know if anyone actually gets there except for the few spiritual teachers that we all know throughout the ages. But the progress is capacity for, but has within him the capacity for progress. We all are able to grow and progress in the spiritual life. And thank God for that. That is an important thing to know and understand. All right, so this is a huge sentence here that this opens up with. So I'm going to read it all again, then break it down piece by piece. The purification of the heart, the thinking of right thoughts, and doing of good deeds. What are they but calls to a higher, nobler mode of thought, energizing forces, urging men to effort in the choosing of thoughts, which shall lift them into realms of greater power, greater good, and greater bliss. Wow. So this is all about the purification of heart, which those next two lines are really, well, those are the three parts right there, right? The purification of our heart, our intention, where we're coming from, then the thinking of right thoughts, right? Thinking altruistically, thinking lovingly, right? What thoughts are we choosing to entertain? What information are we bringing into our mind? And the doing of good deeds. Those are the three things that shape our lives, right? Where our hearts, what our hearts hold, the thinking of right thoughts, and the doing of good deeds. Man's character, somewhat summarized right there. So those three things, he goes on to say, what are they but calls to a higher, nobler mode of thought and energizing forces, urging men to effort in choosing of thoughts which shall lift them into the realms of greater power, greater good, and greater bliss. So these actions, the purification of the heart, the thinking of right thoughts, and the doing of good deeds, these are the things he's talking about here who call us. These are the calls, more so, to a higher, nobler mode of thought. Energizing forces, urging men to effort in the choosing of thoughts which shall lift them into the realms of greater power, greater good, and greater bliss. So these things, the three aspirations we should do, the purification of heart, thinking of right thoughts, and the doing of good deeds, are the things that will bring us the desire to do those things, or the aspiration to do those things, or the call to do those things and continue to grow and work on those things, are the things that bring us into realms of greater power, greater good, and greater bliss. That's what he's saying here. It brings us into places we didn't know were possible. Nobler thought, energizing forces, urging men to effort in the choosing of thoughts, which shall lift them into the realms of great power, greater good, and greater bliss. That's just such a strong statement. When we do these things, we get lifted into greater power, greater good, and greater bliss through the progress and the effort that we put in. He talks about effort here. Nobler mode of thought, energizing forces, urging men to effort, to put effort towards the choosing of thoughts, right? Because they don't call it doing the work for no reason. Doing the work because it takes work, it takes effort, it takes energy and dedication and discipline to do this and to change and to grow and be a different person. This doesn't come overnight. But every time we do it, every ounce of energy we put into it is what's forcing us, or lifting us is the word he uses here, into greater power, greater good, and greater bliss. And that's pretty amazing right there. The second part of the main body of this meditation, aspiration, meditation, devotion. These are the chief means which men in all ages employ to reach up to higher modes of thought, wider airs of peace, vaster realms of knowledge, for as he thinketh in his heart, so is he. That's wow, there's a lot in this one. So aspiration, meditation, and devotion. So these are the things that we practice or that we have by which we purify the heart, by which we begin thinking right thoughts, by which we do good deeds. We aspire to do these things. We contemplate, we meditate upon them, and we devote ourselves to the constant progress and the constant doing of the work. And these are the chief means which men in all ages employ to reach up to higher modes of thought. We have to use these techniques or these, I guess techniques is probably the best word for it right now, to be when doing the actions we need to do and taking the steps to purify our hearts and our thoughts and our mind and our actions. Aspiration, meditation, and devotion is what is needed to do this. And through these, as we work towards the purification of our hearts, thinking all right thoughts and doing good deeds, we reach to higher modes of thought, wider airs of peace, vaster realms of knowledge. We progress in these areas of life. We continue to grow and be a part of things, and we are to learn and to come to terms with our own selfishness and our own self-centeredness, right? Like we begin to see pretty distinctly where we're showing up in our own lives, and that's a pretty big hole to begin to see. We're blind to that a lot of times. Vaster realms of knowledge. For as he thinketh in his heart, so is he. What we hold in our hearts, that is who we are. Because what we hold in our hearts inspires our thoughts, when our thoughts inspire our actions. So our actions show what we hold in our heart. That was a painful thing for me to see when I was getting sober and when I was trying to change my life, because I thought I was a good person. And the reality of it is I was capable of being a good person, but I wasn't acting like one right then. Most of my life I wasn't acting like one. But I got given the opportunity to change all that, and thank God for that. He finishes the main body of this by saying he is saved from himself, from his own folly and suffering, by creating within new habits of thought, by becoming a new thinker, a new man. So this is just restating what gets said so often here. When you change your thinking, you become a different person. You grow. And a lot of the times I lean towards the belief that, or the understanding that when you change your thinking to good thoughts, to right thoughts, righteous thinking the right thoughts, right, purified heart, right? When you change this, your true character and your true personality comes out. I think those of us that run on fear and self-will and self-delusion and self-pity and self-seeking, it's not really our character as it's supposed to be. Those are things running from a place of fear. And when we come from a place of love, we're actually able to just be authentically and genuinely ourselves. And that's huge to me. That was a vastly important aspect of my life I wanted to have, to be authentic to who I was. And when we form these new habits of thought, by becoming a new thinker, we become a new man, right? And thank God for that. I have been allowed the opportunity to become a whole new man in this world, and I am just so grateful for it. I've been given the opportunity to have two lives, really. And he ends this one with, man's being is modified by every thought he thinks, every experience affects his character. Everything we bring into our mind, everything we think about, everything we think of, that affects our character. That affects who we are, which can be scary or it can be encouraging, because when we're committed to constant growth, we get the opportunity to continue to change and see our shortcomings and our character defects and our selfishness and self-centeredness and all of these things. We get afforded the opportunity to grow and think new thoughts and think more good thoughts instead of more selfish thoughts. And we find more peace. We find more of these things. The wisdom, the peace, the strength, the power. All those things we keep talking about here on this podcast. And what a blessing that they are. So, all right, well, that's it for today. We'll end it there. Thank y'all for joining me again for another absolutely stunning meditation from James Allen. And I'm looking forward to seeing where the rest of April takes us. So Don't forget to join us tomorrow, and I will be looking forward to it. So until next time, thanks.